You have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes.
Welcome to You Have 2 Minutes in association with OK T-Shirt.
Tonight I'm joined by one of the directors of Birmingham Speedway, Paul Hunsdon. Paul, how are you doing?
Hi Dylan, nice to see you again.
And you. So we spoke about 11 months ago, give or take, and a lot's changed in that time for Birmingham Speedway. Just what has the past sort of 11 and a half months been like as a director of the club as well?
Yeah, it's certainly been an adventure, hasn't it? I mean, when we spoke, as you say, almost a year ago, early days of the championship season last year, well documented that the performances on the track last year were just not good enough, and we struggled throughout the season. The team building wasn't right. We were a heat leader short all season, and very, very disappointing all round. And then sort of fast forward the end of the season, became apparent that Perry Barr wasn't available to us on a Wednesday. So we had to look at, what our options were. And really the only option that we could look at was to take the team into the top division. Obviously with the sad demise of Wolves, that meant that, a Monday slot in the area was available. And after sort of pondering it for a few weeks, and Nigel, as our CEO, took the plunge to take us into the Premiership, and here we are 11 months later since we last spoke, and it's been a bit of a baptism of fire this season without a doubt, but I think Monday left us all feeling a lot more positive than we would have been if we were talking this time last week.
And what were those conversations like behind the scenes? Because obviously there was the uncertainty of whether the stadium would be available, and then when it was the move up, it's a big plunge to take, especially with, by the promotion's admissions, the crowds weren't fantastic at Perry Barr last season. What were the options you had to weigh up to make the decision to move up?
Yeah, there were lots of conversations with the stadium owners and the stadium landlords, because obviously the stadium owners is well documented that the site is being wound down. The landlords of the stadium, ARC, the Greyhound Racing Company, have got plans to move out and move to a purpose-built track in Wolverhampton. So we had to have discussions with both parties, and they were both very very happy to accommodate us in the short term, which was good, which meant that we had that sorted. And then we had to have the discussions with the BSP to ensure that that was all good. They were very helpful. The CEO, Phil Morris, was very keen for us to move into that slot, so that there were 7 teams in the Premiership this year. Obviously they'd lost Wolves and Peterborough. They needed to fill that void. Oxford came up, and we took the opportunity to fill that last place. And as you rightly say, the crowds last year at Perry Barr weren't great. It's difficult supporting a team that is struggling in any sport. It's a lot easier to promote a club that's doing well. So we had to think long and hard about the implications of moving up, but that decision was made. Obviously we're a little bit late to the party in terms of certain riders, but we've built a team that we hope is going to be as competitive as possible. There's certainly a good team spirit building within the team, and as you know, we made changes to the management as well to try and sort of galvanise that by bringing in Sam and Chris Adams as well.
A lot's been made about the parking, because the Brummies were quite fortunate before to have parking over at one stop, and obviously that contract came to an end. So you've you've kind of had to adapt to what's available. A couple of the businesses on the main road have allowed that to happen as well, and there's a new car park around next to the school now as well. What is it like fighting that, almost a losing battle for parking, to keep trying to evolve it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, people want to, obviously, anyone who's coming to experience a sport and they're driving to it, they want to be able to park somewhere nearby and get into the stadium as quickly as possible. Sadly, the agreement with One Stop had to come to an end because they were using camera controlled parking to automatic number plate recognition, and it just meant that, yeah, I mean, you could feasibility, the feasibility to park there is still there, but there are time limits, and if you exceed those time limits, then you are going to receive a fine. So we had to look at a plan B. Last year, two local businesses, Kelsey Kitchens and Bracebridge Engineering, allowed free parking in front of their premises on the main road, as you say, opposite the McDonald's, and that was good. But with the hope that the crowds were going to grow this year, and then the crowds have been up in our early meetings, we had to come up with a plan B. So we've got very limited parking at the stadium. We've got what we were using as VIP parking inside the stadium, but we had to come up with somewhere else, really. It was either a case of sort of saying, the on-street parking isn't good, so we had to come up with something else. So we came up with a car park across the road, but we do have the problem of trying to fit everybody who wants to park in the stadium inside the stadium, and we learned some lessons the first couple of weeks. We haven't got it 100% right. Hopefully, we are getting it to a situation where things are better. But I appreciate the fact that some fans were disappointed with the experience they received when they tried to park. And the last thing we want to do as a club is to upset any fans who are regulars and loyal fans, or even visiting for the first time. You've got to give people a good experience. So hands up that we didn't get it 100% right. We're trying to rectify that, and apologies to anyone who was inconvenienced when they arrived at the stadium, particularly for the Leicester meeting. I know there were some problems there.
I was on the car park up by the school for one of the meetings, and a few people turned up and asked if they could pay by card. Is that something that would be feasible in the future, or is it just with the costs that come with running a card machine? Is that just not viable?
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for us is obviously with no problems with taking people's money on the gate by card, but in the car parks it's a little bit difficult for us with obviously the required infrastructure connections, etc. I suppose what we could look to doing, if someone doesn't want to park with cash, we could give them a ticket that they have to exchange maybe at the gate or something like that. That's something that we need to look into if there's a real demand for that. But it's just easier for us to administer if we do take a cash payment on the night. But maybe we could look into something where people book their car park ticket in advance and pay for it online, something like that. That's something that I'll raise with my fellow directors if there's a need for that.
So Monday night now, as we record this,
Yeah.
it was a couple of nights ago. We were, a lot of people are expecting a steamroll, and it's not been the best of starts to the seasons, but obviously weather's played a part as well. But there is such a general positivity around that meeting from neutrals, even from Belle Vue fans, that said the racing was really, really good that night. Is that, justification for you and the other directors that the decision that was taken was the right one, and hopefully we can build on that now?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I appreciate the fact that the racing, particularly against Leicester, wasn't great. I was doing the commentary for Brummies TV, and it was a difficult match to commentate on. I mean, the first meeting against Sheffield was a really close encounter, and everyone was on the edge of their seat because we had the big guns in town, and we gave them a really tough meeting. So I think everyone left there with quite a buzz. Obviously, the disappointment of losing the Superheat sort of tarnished the evening a little bit, but it was a good night. And then we lost at home to Oxford, which was a meeting that we honestly thought we could go in and win on paper. That was disappointing. And then the whole Leicester experience was again a learning curve for us, because obviously you are dictated by the weather. So we had to decide, right, are we going to try and get this meeting on, or are we just going to are we going for an early cancellation? It was decided that we would try and get the meeting on. The way that we work is that if we haven't cancelled by lunchtime, then there's a lot of costs that go to the club because we have to pay for the certain parts of the stadium rental, we have to pay for the security and all these sorts of things. So the decision was made by the promotion, rightly or wrongly, that we would press ahead. But the track was heavily packed to ensure that it could deal with some rain. It was a freezing cold evening. There was rain in the area. I mean, I live down south, and as I drove up, I experienced every weather condition that you could possibly see, apart from snow. So no, it was difficult. And yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, Dylan, isn't it? And maybe that meeting we should have just said the day before, look, we're not going to go, but we chose it. But then we put in a really performance on the track, which everyone was really disappointed with. It wasn't good enough. There were some serious words said at all levels after the meeting. I think it was a better performance away at Leicester, and then roll on to Monday when everything was so much better. I mean, the racing was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, anyone who watched that meeting on Eurosport as a neutral said, wow, that was a good meeting. Birmingham put together a good track there. The racing was good. The drama was good. The Heat 15 drama. I mean, none of us, we were all, weren't we? I mean, a hearts in mouths moment when Piotr went down, but well, not luckily, because it clearly was knocked off. So the decision went in our way, but you always are hoping that the referee sees it the same way as everybody else, which he did. And we won the meeting, and the team galvanised. Fantastic performance from Tom Brennan, but everybody contributed. Everybody either won a race or was leading a race. And I think anyone that was at the meeting left there with the spring in their step, thinking, "Wow!" I could hear from being on the centre green at time and in the pits, I could hear the fans getting behind, and that's lovely because I appreciate that the loyal fans have had very little to cheer about over the last 2.5 seasons that we've been involved with the club.
And with it being a TV meeting as well, there's probably the little bit of expectation that the crowd would be down, but it was a pleasantly decent crowd in there, and they were making a lot of noise, and you could kind of feel that after Heat 15 when that result went in. There was a real jubilation with the supporters, and the riders felt that as well.
Yeah, it was great to see a lot more people outside, because obviously for the Leicester meeting, everybody quite rightly sort of hid behind the glass, and that obviously dulls the atmosphere somewhat. So it's hard for the presentation team to try and get the crowd going when there aren't so many numbers outside. But this week, because we had a better evening, we had more people out on the terraces, I think the buzz of the crowd was good. And as you say, it built during the night. That it went from a little bit, everybody's a bit sort of, how's it going to go tonight? And then the first heat went 5-1 to Belle Vue, and you think, oh blimey, here we go again, and everyone's a bit down. But no, and then we rallied, and then you could really, as I say, hear the crowd building. I mean, I know that you're around on the pits gate, and you probably heard it as well as me. And by the time there was a real sort of atmosphere starting to build, and everyone was like on the. I mean, I know everyone's standing, but effectively on the edge of their seats when it comes to Heat 15 and getting behind the team. It's brilliant. And when the guys came around for the victory lap, it was really well received. I think that worked really well, bringing them around on their bikes straight away so that the fans could show their appreciation, the riders could appreciate their fans. We had Piotr doing his donuts, and we had wheelies from Vash. And that's what the fans want to see. They want to see that engagement. Of course they do. I understand that fully. So I think as I said earlier, everyone left there feeling a lot better than they did 2 weeks beforehand.
And I'm friends with a couple of Belle Vue fans, and they were saying it was a quote embarrassment celebrating like they won the league. But I think that was more relief as well. And, to break that duct of getting that first win. I know we got the draw against Sheffield, but that first outright win, and give the fans something to cheer about, and it starts the foundations to hopefully building up. Yeah,
I think, I mean, let's be honest, we're little Birmingham, aren't we, in terms of where we are as a team? And Belle Vue are the self-proclaimed Manchester United or the Liverpool of the Speedway League. And Heat 15, they had 2 world-class riders, in Bewley, who is an absolutely fantastic rider, a GP rider, and Brady Kurtz, who'd gone through the card beforehand. And we had Tom Brennan, who'd been absolutely brilliant, and Pavlici, who's still finding his feet back in British Speedway. And we were on, we had 2 5-1s against them effectively. So of course everyone's going to celebrate. Everyone's happy. I mean, the relief of winning a meeting for everybody was the joy to be seen, and we just 5-1 a GP rider. So of course everyone's going to be up and celebrate. And if we'd have just all just walked off the track at the end of it without having any form of celebration, then everyone would have said, what the hell? So yeah, I understand Belle Vue think, well, maybe they did over celebrate, but we haven't had a lot to celebrate, have we, over the last couple of years? So let's moments like that to me are key in building that spirit between the club and the fans and everyone going home happy. So from my perspective, yeah, roll it on, and let's hope we have a few more clubs saying that we ever celebrate by winning a meeting.
And as you touched on before, you've been doing the commentary this season for Brummie's TV. I think Ryan announced on Monday night that you'd be taking over from him for the meeting against Kings Lynn on the 13th as centre green presenter. Well, what goes through your mind when you take on these different roles as well as being a director? Do you like to be sort of involved in the thick of the action?
Yeah, I love being involved in the thick of the action. I cut my teeth with Reading Speedway many years ago, and I spent 5 years as a centre green presenter and also working for the local radio station as their Speedway correspondent. So, and also this works for Oxford actually back in the day when I was when they did some live coverage of meetings as a commentator. Yeah, so it's something that I've done before. It's something that I enjoy. I think we've all got our own individual way of doing things. So I'll be a little bit different to the way that Ryan does it. And I think that's what it's all about. Everyone has to do things individually different. And yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, Ryan is one of the top presenters in the league, so it's big shoes to step into for the evening. But I'm looking forward to it, and keeping the microphone warm for him for when he's back for the big meeting against Ipswich on the 27th.
And commentary, you've sort of dipped your foot into that as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you do it solo on Brummie's TV. How difficult is that to do solo commentary and not have someone to bounce off?
Yeah, solo commentary is tough because I like to be quite descriptive, but I think it's always nice if you've got a co-commentator alongside you, because it's particularly if you've got someone who's got a lot of Speedway knowledge. So the stuff I've done in the past, I'd always have someone alongside me that was like effectively a colour commentator. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think the subscription numbers have been quite good. The actual production is exceptional. We're very lucky in Clean Cut Sports, which is run by Pete Ballinger, is excellent. So it's really great. So you're working with a good production team. You've got Pete and his team on the production. You've got 2 camera operation. It's all good quality graphics, etc. So it sort of flows well, if you know what I mean, from that perspective. But it's just it would be nice if you had 2 people doing it. But I mean, time and space and finances dictate that's not something that we can do. But hopefully anybody who has streamed the meeting, whether or not they're a Birmingham fan who couldn't make it down to Perry Bar, or they're a visiting fan who wanted a team, or they were just a Speedway fan in general, would have said, well, that was worth the money that we paid, and we do it again.
Birmingham are one of only 3 Premiership clubs currently doing the streaming service. Obviously, with Birmingham, it's been brought up from the Championship, and Leicester and Oxford are doing it as well now. People say streaming's sort of a detriment to Speedway, but like you say, some fans can't always make it there, so they still have the opportunity to watch their team, and it's still supporting the club in one way or another. Is it vital to keep that line open for people?
Yeah, what we do, I mean, we're quite lucky because Pete, who runs a service for us, Clean Cut Sports, Pete Ballinger, he's able to do a check on the demographics of where people are tuning in from. So when we did it, first of all, last year, we one of the first things we did a study of where people were actually tuning in from, and there wasn't actually that many people in the Birmingham area. So it's all postcode broken down to us, so we could see that it was mainly visitors fans. So, for example, we raced against Redcar last year, and Redcar to Birmingham is not an easy trip. So there were 2 choices really. You'd have your hardcore 15 Redcar fans that travel all over the country to see them, but then we had over 100 tune in from Redcar, and I don't think how many of those were actually stopped from travelling to Redcar to Birmingham because it was being streamed. I don't think there were any. So the way I looked at it is we provided a service to our opponent's red car. They had a good evening, brought a little bit of revenue into the club from our perspective, and everyone leaves happy. And it's proved again, the early season meeting against Sheffield again, it was good subscription numbers, but a lot of those were not only people from Sheffield, but people, because there was no other. The way it works, we can't stream when Eurosport are broadcasting. So even if the Brummies aren't running, even if the Brummies are running, but if Eurosport are broadcasting from Sheffield, then we're not allowed to broadcast against Eurosport. So we can only broadcast when Eurosport aren't broadcasting, which is what we've done for the 3 meetings so far. And I think there's only 1 or 2 more dates later in the year we can be, because obviously Monday night is their flagship night. For Leicester and for Oxford, who are Thursday night tracks, there of course there's a lot more flexibility for them, because Eurosport don't broadcast Speedway on a Thursday. So I can understand why they're doing it. And my personal thoughts are that it's a good service, and I don't think it has a detrimental effect on the crowd numbers.
And as we speak today now, as we record tonight, the Brummies are at Kings Lynn. Kings Lynn's a track that doesn't offer streaming. Would it be nice if all the Premiership clubs offered it, so people like you and me could stay at home and watch the team race and just get a fix of Speedway?
Yeah, personally, I mean, from a personal perspective, I'd love to, because I can't make it to Kings Lynn this evening because I've got business commitments elsewhere. So travelling to Norfolk was not feasible for me. But had it been streamed, then they would have had my money to watch the Brummies, because I think it's great watching it on the updates or anything. But there's nothing like live commentary, is it? Whether it's radio commentary or I know that our friends at BBC West Midlands, Mike Taylor, he does some great radio commentary for people that want to. It's brilliant. I spent a little bit of time on Mike's show on Monday, and he's a fantastic commentator. And so tonight it would be brilliant for me when I get in from work, and I'm sure many other Birmingham fans that are watching this that can't make it to Kings Lynn would love to be able to have the option of streaming it or listening to some form of commentary, whether it's online or via radio. So, yeah, I believe that streaming is the way forward. I don't think it has detrimental effect on crowd numbers, because if you can make it to the stadium, you live nearby, you want to, nothing replicates the real thing, does it, Dylan?
And just finally to touch on tonight now, with obviously the change of averages for this month.
Yes.
Piotr Pavlicki moves to number 1. Vaclav Milik drops to reserve, and the bosses have decided to put Tom Brennan at number 5. Is that a repayment for Tom's early season form, because he's been the shining light of Birmingham Speedway so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tom's been absolutely fantastic. From my perspective, I don't get involved in team matters in any way, shape, or form. My role is to look at things more from a business perspective, although I do enjoy the commentary and obviously the presentation. But no, so I have no input into that at all. But I think Tom is a cracking fella. There's no doubt about it. He wants to succeed personally, but he wants to see the team succeed, and that's always key. When you've got riders that want to see the team win as well as themselves doing well, that's great, and that's something that maybe we've lacked a little bit in the last couple of years. But these guys, your Toms, your Leons, your Steve Worrells, are all really, really keen for the team to succeed. And then they're gelling in. So they're now building relationships with Václav and with Victor and with Piotr, because they're guys that are flying in. But it's key that they're being embraced. So, yeah, it was great Monday night. Like you say, there was celebration, but wasn't it lovely to see Václav hugging Steve and Leon hugging people, and Zach Cook's coming in, and he's a young man, but he's got a bright future. And he was clearly buzzing that we've won the meeting, and he produced a fantastic ride in Heat 14. So the team winning galvanizes that. So, yeah, I think that in response to your initial question, Tom Brennan, I mean, he can step up. I mean, look at his performance yesterday in the Speedway European Championship, almost qualified for the next round, is without doubt one of the rising stars. Well, I know he's not a rising star, but one of the rising stars of British Speedway, if you see what I'm saying. So yeah, let's hope that the move to put him at number 5 works well. Obviously, we've got Václav down at reserve this evening. He's from his own admission, he struggled a little bit. He struggled a little bit with his machinery because getting his head round riding the UK tracks again, which are very different to the continental tracks. Piotr will only improve. He's getting better. He was disappointed with his clutch in the first meeting. I think he showed glimpses on Monday of his ability. He's not scared of mixing it. You know, he wrote the ride against Kurtz showed that he wasn't intimidated by hard riding behind him. Got up, brushed himself down, and went out and did it again in Heat 15. So things are looking positive. Steve and Leon both have not quite scored the points that they'd want to score, but they're working hard and they want to see the team win, and then that's what it's all about. We're starting to build a good team spirit, and Sam has always been an individual that wants to gel. I worked a little bit with Stan when I was at Reading. He spent a year at Reading. Again, he was very much into trying to get the guys to work together and help each other out by passing on little bits of information to each other, and that's happening. And then obviously Chris has cut his speedway teeth through having his father one of the very best in the business, so he's another asset as well. So without a doubt, if that's what they've decided that Tom's the man to ride at number 5, I'm not going to sit here and question that. No.
And we touch on Tom there as well. You'll never find a rider who's as passionate about his racing. I know from where I stand, and you've probably seen it as well from up in the commentary box. If he finishes 2nd or 3rd, he's fuming and he's back in the pits and he's trying to push on. If he's not winning, he's not happy. And he made the initial gate in Heat 15 on Monday, and then it was obviously called back, and he sat himself down and focused himself and stayed in that zone. And for such a young rider and a young chap, he's really got a mature head on his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he wears his heart on his sleeve, but he in terms of maturity against age, he's certainly up there. And I mean, what a start that he made in the first running of Heat 15, absolute dream. And when he saw the red lights come on, he must have been, thinking, oh God, But he did it again. I mean, he made another good gate. Bewley made a better gate, but Tom, head down, away he went, and two fantastic rides. To win Heat 15 effectively twice. Let's face it. I mean, the first running of Heat 15, that was his. He had it in the bag, and personally, I thought, well, maybe the referee could have awarded him, but actually made better drama, didn't it? Go backing out and getting a 5-1 again. But when you've got your we need to win this meeting hat on, I was thinking, God, what a ride from Tom, and he's got to go and do it all again. But which he did. But as you say, he hates getting beat, and I think any rider who's happy losing a race is probably not quite got the right sort of potential to go where they want to go. I don't think any speedway rider wants to lose a race, because they're all out to win races, and the more races they win, the more money they earn, and the more plaudits they get from the fans and the promoters.
Well, Paul, huge thanks for giving me some of your time this morning, and I'm sure you join me in sending the Brummies the very best for tonight, and hopefully, we can build on that result from Monday night.
Yeah, fingers crossed for tonight, Dylan. I mean, it's Kings Lynn. It's always a tough place to go. They haven't had the best starts to the season. They've had to make some team changes. So let's hope we can catch them on them not having the best of nights. And as you say, we'll all be, the Birmingham fans that travel up there, hope they have a safe travel. And thanks for backing the team home and away. It really is appreciated. And the rest of us will be following it on the updates online and keeping our fingers crossed that we get a positive performance.
Cheers, Paul.
Dylan, thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.